Okay, people, so today is the 19th of November. What I'm doing? I have no money, people. So I'm making cat food. I'm playing catch up really with my the vegetables that I bought and the apples that I bought that are still sitting in the basket outside covered up, right? To finish that last batch of apple juice. So before I get into that, I'm doing the carrots because I wanted to shred carrots, remember? For the freezer, so that, you know, if worse comes to worse in the winter time, I have them in the freezer. I don't have to. I still got the dehydrated ones, but, you know, I mean, when you go 5 months without buying groceries, people, carrots from the freezer shredded is nice. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking off the bad pieces, you can see, because my cats will eat carrots. So as I'm getting ready to shred the carrots, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make vegetable broth. You're going to see how I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you. And I'm making cat food with the little bits and ends of vegetables as I come across them. Right? Like potato peels and, you know, and carrot peels, and but I'm washing because I'm making what do you call it? Vegetable broth. I have to scrub the carrots first. Right, because I'm going to use the peels from the carrots to make the broth. And then I'm going to shred the carrots themselves, and I'm going to freeze them. But as you cut off the ends, there's still a little bit of carrot in here that I can salvage for the cats. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of just salvaging what little bit of carrot I can for my cats. Before I go on to scrubbing carrots to make vegetable broth. And only because I have to, because I got them here and I want them for the winter time, for worst case scenario, right? That's not to say I won't ever buy fresh carrots in the winter, but if for some reason I can't. Oh, and the broth, what I'm going to do with the broth after I've done the broth, because I'm going to do a big pot of vegetable broth. Well, not big, but big enough. Like a large pot. Not an extremely large pot, but a large pot. I'm going to freeze the broth. Alright, and then I have that for winter as well. So, and then after I'm doing that, and get caught up with the apples and everything, I'm going to start working on those fundraisers. There's 2 of them that I want to put together. Right, I want to do the housing initiative for the housing repair. Right, I still haven't done that yet, people. It's very hard for me to focus these days because of my eyes, you know, in front of a computer and thinking and typing words and, you know, that type of thing, just because I'm tired, people. It's just, I wake up tired, right? I go to bed tired, I wake up tired. You know, so, but once I sit in front of the computer, I'm usually pretty good. So, but I like to have, you know, I got that little bit of OCD, right? So I have to have things kind of organized around the house a little bit and whatnot, right? So this is kind of one of these situations where I kind of have to organize the carrots and the beets, and I got a few beets. I did the beet leaves, I already froze those, but I've got a few, and I made 4 jars of pickled beets, and I still got a little bit of beets in a bag here that I'm going to shred right along with these carrots for soup, right? So anyway, as I'm going along, I will continue to show you what I'm doing. Hold on. Okay, so this is where I'm at. Those little white peels are the parsnip peels from the parsnips from my garden. Right? I'm going to be shredding the parsnip and freezing it as well. So anyway, there's a few of those in there. A bunch of carrot peels that have been washed, scrubbed, and then peeled off with a potato peeler. And then I'm making vegetable stock, people. This is what I'm doing here, right? So we've got a little bit of celery, right? And then the carrots I'm going to end up using for the cats, more than their cat food, right? So the onion, because cats aren't supposed to technically eat onions, I'm just putting the onion in like this and let it stew that way. The whole onion, right? And then I took potatoes from my garden, right? And then after they're cooked, I'll take them out and I'll use them for something else. But for now, I'm just going to stew them with the skin on to give flavor to this, right? You can see. And then these are gourmet potatoes. So I'll put those in there, right? Some broccoli that I got from the dollar bags that I managed to salvage a bit. I have a bit more in my sink, but for now we're just putting that in there for flavor. Right. And then I'm doing some whole garlic, you can see. Right. I might put a couple slices of ginger in there yet. Just hold on a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to add some of this. Right. You can see. And then what we've got here is turmeric. I had it from my fridge. So I'm just going to put 3 of those in there. I'm going to put in 3 slices of ginger. Right, here's a little bit of a jalapeno pepper. I'll throw that in there, and just the rest of these peppers. And then I'm going to add some more water. And then I'm just going to simmer it for 3 or 4 hours, I guess. Just so it's everything seeps into the juice. And keep topping up the juice if it goes down. So, but first I'm going to bring it to a quick boil. Right, you're going to have to watch for the foam if you put a little bit of salt in there. So I'm going to turn it up first, bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down. Now this is some sea salt, the good stuff. Right, that's about a teaspoon so far. Maybe just a little more than a teaspoon. So we'll start with that first. And then in about an hour from now, I'm going to taste it. And then if something is becoming overwhelming, like say the peppers, and I don't want that taste anymore, stronger than what it already is, I'll take them out. Otherwise, I'm just going to let everything cook. And then what I want to feed the cats, like the carrot peels, that will go in a different bowl. When I want to, what I want to keep for myself, like the potatoes and the onion and that type of thing, that will go in a different bowl, and then the stock will be frozen. All right, I'm utilizing my carrot peels, people. That's what it is. I had to make cat food. So I thought I'd make vegetable broth before cat food. Okay, so it's sort of like jam. After a while, that foam and those bubbles and everything will incorporate itself back into the liquid. If you were making a chicken stock or a beef stock, you actually don't bring it to a boil because you don't want to technically incorporate the fat into the liquid, right? So in that case, you would start it simmering slow and keep it on low, right? Just to cook it without boiling the fat into the actual liquid itself if it was really bothersome for you, right? But in this case, like I said, just treat it like a jam. So now I brought it to a boil. You can see the pot is high with liquid. I'm just going to turn it down, put it on 4, and I'm just going to let it simmer now for several hours, people. and taste it as it goes every hour on the hour to see if there's something that I want to take out in terms of it adding flavor that I feel is enough, I guess you can say. Right? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Other than that, that looks pretty good. Okay, so there is our vegetable broth. I did it for the vitamin purposes, people. Andre will, believe it or not, for as picky as he is, he'll actually eat pea soup. So versus using water, I can just take this out of the freezer, let it unthaw, put that in there, and then proceed to make pea soup. Just adds a little extra nutrients, right? So we got 7 jars. Pretty good. And then I've already started to feed the cats. What I've done is I've taken one of these. Oh, what am I talking about? Hold on a minute. Just tired, people. Anyway, my daughter went to the food bank the other day and she came back with these little things. So I took actually 2 of these, some of that, mixed them up, gave it to my cats. So anyway, tomorrow I'll look around in my freezer for some chicken bones or something, you know, to make soup with or something, and I'll just add it in, right? A little bit of rice or something, and it is what it is. I have too many cats. I need to find some homes for these cats. I'm not a cat lady. Okay, and then we got the potatoes for tomorrow, right? Hold on a minute. And then what you do is you put it in the freezer without any lid, because as it freezes, it's going to expand and it's going to go higher. And if you have a lid on there, you can quite possibly crack the jar. You notice I left enough room in there for it to expand. And then once it's frozen, then you can put on your lid. And yes, I fixed my freezer, people. I let it completely defrost, my fridge, and whatever was in the line, defrosted out, caught it in a cup, let it dry out over the night, and yeah, my fridge is working now. So hold on. Okay, so moving along. So the purpose of this is just to make sure I have it in the wintertime, people. As you can see, the peels are gone, and I made stock with the peels. They say there's the most vitamins and nutrients in the peel. So I washed them, cleaned them, scrubbed them, peeled them, boiled the peels, took out the bad, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shred them, and I'm going to bag them, and I'm going to freeze them, and I have them for crock pots and soup throughout the winter in the event of extreme hardship and I have no money to buy groceries. Like, really, people? Who goes 5 months in a rich country without buying groceries because of corporate corruption? It's a very frightening experience. And I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. Seriously. Like I said, I'm tired. There was something else I wanted to say there, but I forgot. Oh yeah, corporate corruption. I've been dealing with corporate corruption for a long, long time, people. Because poverty, for some folks, I'm serious, it's manufactured. It's manufactured through institutional racism that goes back hundreds of years. Only when you're young, you don't notice it. Because you don't question the policies that are put in front of you. I want to try this other little thing here and see what kind of thing we get. You don't challenge the policies. I don't know how to take it off though. That are put in front of you. Right? You just accept them and just try and survive. So even if you have a lot of motivation in life, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get you anywhere. Because the people who control the politics, they don't like competition, people. They don't. That's how they build wealth. They don't share. They don't share the wealth. I don't know what these are. I don't know what kind. Well, that looks like a slicing. I know it's not what I want. But they don't like to share the wealth, people. And they don't want to give people fair opportunity in a capitalistic society. Even though they expect you to live your life as you live in a capitalistic society. I don't know what kind this is going to make. We're going to find out. So what I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, like 20, I had Sierra when I was 25. And I tried to start a company, right? The only thing is, I was pregnant at the time. I just had the baby, one of the two. Or I hadn't gotten pregnant yet, I don't know. It was around that time when I was 25 anyway. And I wanted to start this magazine for the island, right, because I lived in Victoria, that featured, what do you call those things? Fishing resorts and stuff, right? And because I was, coming into the game of making outfits and stuff like that, I thought throughout the magazine I could import some of my little outfits. Right? And then eventually move on to the mainland. Well, nobody wanted me to make a magazine, people, because it would have been competition for the other magazines out there, let's face it. And social services only gave me 3 months to get my business license and to start becoming independent and making all this money. It took me a while to get my business license. I had to have the fire department come to my house, inspect my house. I had to have fire extinguisher and all this shit. Right? I had to go and meet with the cops, people. Because they wanted, because I was making outfits, mostly for dancers, right? And once you mention the word dancers, everybody's mind goes dirty, right? So I had to go and have interviews with the sergeant or whatever it was with the police department to verify that I wasn't trying to start a smut magazine and, run a bunch of prostitutes up and down the island. Literally. And I'm like, no, that's not my intentions. Anyway, long story short, I did get my license. And within 3 months, obviously I didn't make any money, right? So I had to hand it in. This is what I mean by oppression and poverty is designed. It was a humiliating experience. I paid for everything that needed to be paid in terms of the name search, registering the company, doing whatever the fire department wanted me to do in terms of getting a fire extinguisher and all this other crap, doing whatever the police wanted me to do. And then I ended up handing it in to a social assistance worker because I guess it was more economically profitable long term to keep me on welfare than it was to encourage me to continue working on my business. That's just one example, people. 2003, under the BC Liberal government, 9 months before the legislation came in, even though I didn't fall under those rules because I had 5 dependent children between the ages of 3 and 18. They illegally cut me off of welfare, people, in 2003, in January of 2003, under this bogus legislation that was brought over by Bill Clinton when he hooked up with Gordon Campbell. As soon as Gordon Campbell became premier of this province, he invited Bill Clinton, who came with the welfare reform, and British Columbia, Canada, was one of the first, was the only province in all of Canada to bring in American-style welfare reform that attacked the most vulnerable in our society. And I was at the top of the list because I was a targeted individual for the sheer fact of I started working on the nonprofit in 1999, got the federal trademark in 2000, fully registered the nonprofit with the Registered Societies in 2001. Of course, with the back in my mind, I'm going to start a company, but I'm not allowed to start a company, so I went with the nonprofit first, right? But for some reason, somebody in one of those offices decided that I didn't qualify and said, if you don't go pick tomatoes in January of 2003, we're cutting you off of welfare. I'm at home looking after Uncle John, people, with the kids. I was a sitting duck. And that's exactly what happened. They cut me off of welfare. Illegally. I have proof of that. 9 months before the legislation even came in. And then, because it was such an uproar, because it hurt so many people, the government, a year and a half later, or whatever it was, rescinded that legislation. They backdrafted on it, took it away, when in fact I should never have fell under that legislation for the sheer fact the worst that they could have done to me and should have done to me was deduct $100 off of my welfare check. 9 months before, or I'm sorry, 9 months after they cut me off. They cut me off in January. They should have started deducting $100 off in August. But they didn't. They just cut me off. I was off of welfare for 6 years, people. I went back in 2006 putting a new application in, right? And they denied me because I had a couple of small little trust funds for my children, which are long gone, right? But they expected me to appeal. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to appeal. I've already been off of welfare for 3 years. I might as well just stay off of welfare since you're not giving me welfare. So they denied me, which more than likely was illegal. While I was watching a child, people, for 3.5 years, from 2003 up into 2007, for the Ministry of Children and Family Development without pay. Are you listening to me? They illegally cut me off of welfare. They denied giving me welfare when I made an application again in 2006. Told me I needed to appeal it, as they expected me to watch a child with a mentally ill mother without pay just so that I could live in a shanty shack and have a roof over my children's heads. So, when they took Andre, again, it changed the dynamics in the house. That was almost like kicking me out of my house all over again. Everybody went into deep depression, right? It was brain trauma for all my kids. Brain trauma for me. Brain trauma for John, right? It destroyed my oldest daughter. Completely destroyed her. She's never recovered, and I don't know if she'll ever recover now because it's just getting progressively and progressively worse. It put us in the poorhouse, right? And just as we were recuperating from that, after we got Andre back, they went for the jugular again, and they went after Uncle John for his pensions and anything else that they could find under the fucking rock. This is all union, people. Institutional racism. Whether they realize it or not, it's an entitlement mentality that destroys lives. Just so that 400,000 out of 4.6 million can flourish. And of course, there's people in the private sector that do very well. But really, what runs the economy, people, is the union. It's the union that holds the government by its balls. right? And it's the poor people that pay the price for that. So, anyway, you go 5 months with not buying any type of groceries in a country that professes itself to be free with opportunity, when you know different by the experiences that you've had to live through just to be able to shred carrots today for the winter in the event another boomerang is gonna hit you in the freaking head. Hey, I didn't realize I could make those thicker if I wanted to, but that's how that came out looking. And then we've got this one right here. You know, every now and then, like you said before, my son and I, my younger son and I, we get into these arguments or debates or whatever you want to call it. You know, and he jumps up on that GMOI bandwagon. Oh, you know, you blame the government for everything. Oh, you know what? My son's 25, 26 years old. He's never raised 5 kids. He's never looked after an old man with blindness and bad legs. And, you know, he's never had to do the things that I have done. He accuses me of not working. You know, even though I don't think he's ever washed a floor in his life. Well, actually, that's not true. He washed the downstairs floor with a mop a couple weeks ago. But how long did it take him to wash that floor? Right? So, anyway, it all boils down to self-esteem. He sees his mother being picked on, that's what it is. So I guess picking on me makes it okay, right? Somehow, some way, versus standing up for me. Anyway, so now I'm going to bag him up. I'm going to freeze him. And we've got stuff for the winter. And my tongue still hurts. I bit it like 2 more times yesterday. I had my daughter look at it when she came home today. She says it looks fine, but I don't know. It hurts. So anyway, I have this medicine from
Actually, no, you bit all day. Every day.
2016. November of 2016. It was for my teeth. I went to the doctor. That was the last time I went to the doctor, people. I'm pretty sure. November of 2016. Because of my teeth, right? They were really bothering me, and I was afraid maybe I had an infection. So he gave me that, but then I decided not to take it. And I just saved him in case of an emergency. Yeah. One of those natural disasters, right? So after I bit my tongue, I haven't really...
Time.
Quiet. Yeah, I bit it twice yesterday. It's kind of swollen. It hurts on the inside of it. It's healing on the outside, but not so much on the inside. So I don't know. So I'm trying to take them. First I did 1 a day. Now I'm trying to take them 2 times a day. It's for bacteria, in case you have bacteria, right? So, I don't have no viruses or anything. It would be bacteria. If anything's breeding in there, it's a bacteria. Alright. So, I'm just doing this right now. Finish this up. Alright. Going pretty fast. I'm very tired though. Hold on. So yeah, you can't buy property if you're on social assistance, right? So you end up paying 500, 600, thousands. 500, 600, 700 thousands of dollars. I have paid over $600,000, people, in other people's mortgages in the last 25 years. And I'm on, you know, look at the economy. for all that it got me. That's what I mean. Poverty is designed, is engineered. Some people get to own houses, some people never do. Some people just pay for those houses and then end up out there. Right? My landlady said to me, why don't you consider subsidized housing? And I'm like, no. As if there's even very much out there. Right? You know? 7 years in a yard, and now I'm looking at subsidized housing after I paid mortgage on this house for 7 years. I only want a little while longer, so my grandson, like I said, once he turns 12, I don't know if I want to live in Surrey, people. It's scary. There's too many drugs out here. It's too much. It's not right. And just the politics, right? It's not geared for families. It's geared for profit. Right? This gentrification of the neighborhood. Those houses down the road there, I'm telling you, there's 8 houses that go up for sale 3 or 4 times a year. They just sold, and more are going up. Same houses. And each time they sell, they're just selling higher and higher, and they're just pushing those property taxes higher, pushing the rents higher, pushing everything higher. It's being done on purpose, right? It's a crime, really. Somebody should do something about it, but I don't know. Stimulates the economy for the elite, right? If they don't make their money off the poor, that's how they make their money, through house sales. Selling the same house over and over and over again for another $400,000 more each time. Times 3 times a year. So my landlady, you know, she's like, you know how expensive it is to go rent a place? And I'm like, yeah. But the reason that the houses are so expensive, there's 2 reasons for it. The people who are buying the houses now are having to pay more money for the house, so of course the mortgage is more high. Right? If you're buying a house for $1.4 million versus $700,000, obviously your mortgage is going to be high. When I moved into this house, my landlords probably could have got $700,000 easy. Now they can probably get $1.2, $1.3, $1.4 million for this house in the 7 years. So it's doubled since I've been here. So whoever buys it at $1.4 million, well, obviously, depending on how much they put down, right? That's how it's gonna, jack up the rent, right? I mean, if they put down $500,000, then obviously the mortgage is low, right? But I've invested into this house for 7 years, so, my landlords are not coming in fresh off the grid paying $1.4 million for this house. But it's just the simple fact that the neighbor over there can get $2,800 for their house, and I'm still paying $17,000 for mine. So therefore, I guess from a business perspective, it makes sense to kick me out, keep the mortgage that you have, rent it out for $3,300 a month, and make $900 a month more profit. So that's just another means to disenfranchise the poor people, because once I leave this place, I couldn't afford another place. I can't. John left me with the bills, and it wasn't even Uncle John. It was Fraser Health with their greed to prop up their old folks' home with nepotism running the show, right? The banking system wanting to prop up their banking system with their RRSPs, right? And then, bankrupt me, right? Even though I'm the one that went into debt looking after Uncle John and Auntie Joan. And now I'm sick. Now I'm sick, people. And there's really nobody there to look after me, right? Because my kids are damaged. My youngest daughter helps me out with stuff, but all my kids are depressed. 2 of them are not doing well, and the other ones are we're all depressed around here, right? because our lives are still in limbo. It's just another means to disenfranchise us. All right, chipping away. Anyway, that's not really what I want to get into. I just want to remind people that poverty is manufactured. Okay? It's not like I didn't try over the years, people, to do stuff, because I did. So, this is what I've got here. I'll show you. And after this, all I got to do is, I still got those apples out there. I kind of felt the bags. It seems like they're okay, but I don't know. I won't know until I look at them. I don't think I'm going to make juice because I'm tired of canning. I'm kind of like putting stuff away now. So I was going to make apple juice with them, right? But I think maybe what I'm going to do is just make some, if I can find my pie pans, I'm just going to make some apple pies, whatever I've got outside there, and freeze them. And then I'm doing black walnuts. I'll show you that here too. Hold on. I've been cracking nuts. I was cracking nuts last night. Alright, get them out of the way. I'll show you what I got so far. You don't get a lot of walnut with the black walnut, but it's a sweet, it's a very sweet nut. It's very nice. So hold on. This is what we got for carrots.
Yeah.
This is for borscht or whatever, any kind of soup really. These ones I made a little bigger, as you can see. It's twice the size of those. This you could boil up in a pot and then make some cream with some onions, mix them up with a little bit of salt and butter. It'd be like boiled carrots. It would be very good. So I got a few of those, and then I just made smaller ones like this size for soup because they're cut different, right? So that's about, I don't know, $6 worth of carrots. Because I bought them in the big bag. So at best we'll say $7. That's $7 worth of carrots, people. That's not bad, don't you think? For $7. And they freeze quite perfectly well. And then, as you can see, I had to let these ones air dry a little bit because they were kind of like, I don't like putting them in the bag. They sweat. Unless they're completely dry, then they're okay. But if not, then they get gooey. They're not drying correctly in the bag. So I just had to let these air dry, but I can feel now they're fine. So I can mix these two together. This I will vacuum seal, and I will freeze them after I'm done. Because once they're frozen, they can sit in a vacuum seal bag for at least 2 years, but because they're vacuum sealed, they can sit longer than that. And then I made some black walnut ink. As you can see, good to go. And I guess this video is over, people. Okay, maybe not. I forgot to do those. Those are the parsnips from my garden, right? I got them all ready. I peeled them, and then I put the peels in with the carrot peels there. And then these are the leftover beets from my garden, right? Remember, my daughter took half my beets. So I only got like 4 jars of pickled beets, and then that's what was left. Otherwise, I would have had more. And just as a final note, people, you know, it's bad enough that Uncle John disappeared. Like I said, everybody's life is still in limbo. We're all depressed. You know, we've been damaged. A lot of brain trauma. On top of other issues. And then, you know, have to cope with that. And then to have the housing market go out of control to the point where, you know, in some ways your landlord doesn't want you living in their house anymore. Not because they don't like you. It's just the fact that they can make $900 up to $1,000 more than what you already give them, people. Just for the sheer fact of the way the housing market is. If I was to move out tomorrow with the greenhouse and the pond and the walkways and the multiple sheds, my landlords could get $3,300 a month. Even though the house needs repairs and it's a leaky boat with the leaky porch and all that other crap, it wouldn't matter. So that puts us at risk all the time to be. Gotta go. We can't afford to house you no more. It's not our responsibility. You know what I mean? So, poverty is manufactured, people. It really is.